Good evening, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here for such a great cause. Standing here making this speech means the world to me, and I'm glad I can have the honor of inspiring you and raising awareness for such a horrible disease. It's really touching to see so familiar faces here at the event. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joseph DeFilippis, and I lost my father, Andrew, to pancreatic cancer on June 29, 2013. When Kelly Ross and Katie Casamassina first contacted me about making this speech, I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant. But after sitting down and thinking about it for a day, I realized how much I wanted to make this speech. My father was my mentor, my inspiration, and most importantly, my best friend. He was a man of character who would go to hell and back for our family without even thinking about it. My dad was from Teaneck, New Jersey. He had a twin brother, Anthony, and an older brother, Frank. My father, like me, played football in high school, and after high school went on to higher education at Duquesne University. He was a peaceful soul who just tried his best to live the most positive life possible. After Duquesne, he went on to teach for a few years, owned a few restaurants, and then became a construction foreman. He did this all the way up until he was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer on April 19, 2012. I'll never forget that day. Weeks prior to his diagnosis, he had been having really bad stomach pains along with vomiting and weight loss. At first, he thought it may have been an ulcer, but it was definitely a lot worse than that. I was sitting at home after school on April 19th watching ESPN. As I sat and watched, I got a call from my mother. The words were so cold and blunt. Joey, come up to the hospital. They said Dad has cancer. Immediately when she said those words through the phone, I froze. I said okay and hung up the phone. I remember I sat there for a few minutes just taking it in. I felt like the world paused for a moment as the life was sucked out of me. A very close friend of mine, Matt Dietz, came to the house to pick me up, and we drove up to St. Joseph's Hospital in Wayne, where my father was. When I entered the room, my mother in tears and saddened family friends greeted me. And then I saw my father sitting on his bed, and I immediately broke down. Why cancer? Why my dad? He was such a sweet and genuine man and never tried to bring harm on anyone. Why was he given this plate? It wasn't until later when my father passed I realized the answer to these questions. God gives his hardest battles to his toughest soldiers. When my father saw me crying, he hugged me and said, "I don't get it. Why are all of you crying? This is just a little bump. I'll beat this." And hearing that statement come out of his mouth left me with the greatest everlasting impression of my father. He always kept hope and always looked at the glass half full. You'd have to kill him before he looked at it half empty. This positivity and hope stuck with him throughout the whole entire battle. The doctors at St. Joseph's gave him a prognosis of 5 to 6 months. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I were to hear that said to me, I'd break down and fold up. Later that day, I was able to talk to my dad about it, and I asked him what he thought about the prognosis. He told me to hell with it. It's nothing but a statistic. I could die tomorrow or I could live forever. I think living forever sounds a lot better, as he smiled at me. This was only the beginning of a very long journey. My father liked to call it his pancreatic journey. He figured once he finished kicking cancer's ass, he'd write a book. I really would have liked to see how it came out. My father decided he wanted to have his medical team stationed in New York City, so he was referred to doctors at Beth Israel Medical Center. Here he received chemotherapy, radiation treatments, as well as his other medical needs. Before he started chemo, my family was able to get all of our friends and family together to throw him what we called a big chemo party. It was really nice to see him in a great mindset before starting the gruesome treatments. His treatments were broken down into a schedule. Every other week for 3 months, he received chemotherapy, as well as radiation every day for 10 weeks. After this period, he took a 6-week break, and then he went back to chemo as much as his body could tolerate it. Him and my mother like to call them chemo vacations. During treatment weeks, I witnessed some of the most agonizing pain a human being can go through. And even while my father had those treatments, he still woke up every day with a "what am I going to do today" attitude. Whether it just be taking a walk with me and my brother or going to a barbecue, it was the thought that counted. It's funny, there were multiple occasions once I got my permit where he wanted to go for rides, so we figured it was a great way for me to start practicing driving. It may not have been the smartest idea having him ride with me in the car, considering all the medication he was on, but it was the memories and lunches we had together that was worth doing it. He'd rather die slow and painfully, spending every day out with his family and friends, living life to the fullest, than lay in bed in horrible pain, throwing up all day. I won't lie, he definitely had those days. But even when he had those days, he would use every ounce of strength to at least get out of bed and go outside for a short walk. It's sad, because at the time, I don't think he truly realized how much of an impact he had on so many people's lives. It wasn't that he even tried to, he just simply did. He did the right thing at all times and was as honest as possible to people. He'd show kindness even if people acted towards him in a harsh way. He was a very spiritual man, a devoted Catholic his whole life, and every day during treatments, he liked to write some thoughts down on paper that he kept in a journal. As he got more and more sick, he became more debilitated, so he stopped writing after a while. But I'd love to share one of his short passages with you. It would really do this speech justice. This excerpt is taken from a passage he titled Chemo. It's hard to make Chemo your friend. He sure is a tough customer. He wants it all, the mind, the body, and the soul. Well, like they say in Italian, stugaz, gets nothing. Fatigue is amazing, and I'm so drained with no energy. At this point, I cannot support my own body weight, which on me right now is fluctuating between 115 and 120 pounds. Light body, no energy. I will not allow it to get the best of me. There's too much to live for, too much. He truly was the living testament to living your life to the fullest and never giving up on hope. I asked Kelly before writing my speech what it should revolve around. She told me to make it about my father, of course, and what it was like caring for him and seeing him battle this disease, but to also talk about how I felt during and after the experience, I guess I should say. Every day I woke up wondering what could happen. Would Dad be able to get his breakfast down and run some errands? Or was he going to battle the toilet all morning with vomit and pain? Every day was a challenge that I thought at the time I could never overcome. Depending on who was home with him during the day, my mom, my brother, or I, it was our job to make sure he took all of his medications on time. You may be thinking, wow, that's not too bad, only a few pills a day, but this wasn't the case. My father was taking copious amounts of medications. That included heart medications, nausea medications, appetite medications, on top of large doses of Oxycontin and oxycodone, both of which are heavy narcotics with a high potential of addiction and ruin the lives of thousands. But that's how bad my father's pain was. He would try his best not to take them, but some days the cancer really got the best of him. In the end, my biggest goal with my father was to just spend as much time with him as possible. For the time he had left on earth could be short, I wanted to make sure I could make as many memories as possible with him. Kill his disease with fun and laughs. He absolutely loved music. His 3 favorite bands were the Beatles, the Police, and Pink Floyd. Some days we would just relax and listen to album after album. And it wasn't until I did this with him I realized the true beauty behind music. I'd watch him sway and nod his head along with Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, and to be honest, it would almost make me cry. He showed such a deep appreciation for the music he loved, and he really enjoyed taking the time to recognize how beautiful it was. He forever left a great mark on me. He taught me to be compassionate and open-minded. He taught me to always keep the hope and never turn to negativity. Positivity is key in life. And most importantly, he taught me to do what makes me happy. It's better to live a short life full of the things you love doing than a long one full of the things you don't want to do. The day my father died can still play in my head like a movie reel that's never getting taken off the projector. He passed away peacefully around our family. And when he passed, there were plenty of sleepless nights. Nights where I probably did some of the most soul-searching I ever did in my life. From this came my philosophy on life taught by him. Spread love and peace to the people around you. Once he died, I became more interested in my spiritual side. My father enjoyed watching documentaries on Gandhi, John Lennon, and other great thinkers of our times, and he inspired me to do this. I started exploring through the works and lessons of Buddhism, and there are sure some great lessons to live by, one of my favorites being, Our prime purpose on earth is to help people. And if you're not going to help them, at least don't hurt them. It's funny, you can ask a person, man or woman, at what point in their life did they have that moment where they realized that they really grew up and had a grip on life. Some may say their wedding, or the birth of their first child, or even the day they graduated college. If you were to ask me, it'd be the day that my father was diagnosed with cancer and the day he passed away. The battle I fought alongside with him made me the man I am today. It has shed a new light on me and has showed me how delicate and beautiful life really is. Every single person here tonight has a purpose, and that purpose is to live your life and find that thing that makes you tick. Like the poet Charles Bukowski said, find what you love and let it kill you. Before I wrap this up, I want to thank everyone that made Relay for Life possible tonight. Thank you to Kelly Ross and Katie Casamasina for getting me involved, and thank you to Relay for Life for giving me this opportunity to tell my story. And lastly, for the people who are going through a similar experience like mine, you're not alone. You have brothers and sisters all around you here tonight. Remember to stay strong, stay positive, and never, I mean never for a second, give up on hope. Even when you're down and out and it seems as if you're deep in the dark, keep searching, because I promise if you search hard enough, you will find the light. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night, and God bless.